Hi guys, and welcome to the War Room. If you're a new wargamer, one of the biggest questions has to be, well, what system to start collecting? And it's a big question. Today what I'm going to do is take you through a comparison of two of the starter sets that are available for two systems. First, which is Warhammer 40,000, which is a very popular system with about 20 years of history to it. And the other one being a new system called Warpath, which has been released the last couple of years from Mantic. Show you what each box set contains, allow you to look at some of the pros and cons of each system. And obviously this is just looking at a kind of science fiction wargaming. We're also trying at the minute to build up Flames of War, which can be quite fantastic value for money, but we haven't actually finished our armies yet to properly play a game. Okay, so let's see what you get. It's actually been a while since we bought a Warhammer 40,000 starter set. What you're looking at the right is the alt part of a Assault on Black Reach box set we bought a couple of years back, and on the left is the Marauder, or Orcs with an X, part of what you get from a Face of the Forge Star kit. For the Warhammer Orcs, what you get is you get yourself one HQ, such as this guy. You get an elite army of what's called knobs. These are slightly tougher orcs that are basically better at giving kind of the tougher, stronger, kind of harder, basically. And then you get altogether about 20 what called boys, who are just kind of like slightly, well, the run-of-the-mill infantry in the orc army. You also get 3 of these rather cool things, which are called Death Copters. They're a kind of fast attack unit with like a rocket launcher. Because one of the problems with orcs in Warhammer 4000, they're brilliant in hand-to-hand combat. They're absolutely terrible at trying to hit anything. They've got some of the worst ballistic skill going. Meanwhile, over here for the Marauders from the Warpath, you get, all told, about 30 just normal orcs. These guys. You get some specialist heavy weapons guys here, and one of these rather cool resin buggies, war buggies. And I'm afraid that's it. No HQ, no real special troops, unlike like that. So let's do a bit of more of a comparison. In some ways, it seems a better deal. You've got a lot more troops compared to what you get from the Warhammer. But let's take a bit of a closer look at them. When you get quite close up, it gets a little bit more disappointing from what you get from the Warpath army. As you can see here, a lot of the troops look very much the same. There's a limited amount of ways that you can pose them and model them. When you look over here at what you can do with the Orc army, you can see that pretty much each figure is it looks a lot more independent. There's a lot more ways to personalise each figure. So you very, very rarely get like the same figure appearing again and again and again, like you do, unfortunately, with the Warpath. Now, some of this is because obviously Warhammer 40,000 has been around for a long time, and they've got better and better and better at doing it. If you look at the two figures compared to, that's one troop, that's the Orc troop on the left. Sorry, of course they're both Orc. That's the Warpath figure on the left and the Warhammer figure on the right. You can see that, this is a bit scrawny, smaller, whereas this is a much more kind of butch, bigger, stronger looking figure. Of course, Warhammer figures didn't always look like that. If you look over here, you can see that these are some Warhammer Space Marines circa not too long, about 10 years ago. And you can see that at the time, most of the figures look very, very samey. Very, very samey. Pretty much like how the Warpath figures are. So the Warpath figures aren't the better sculpted ones at all, unfortunately. They're great for getting started, but not really anywhere near as detailed. And if you buy modern Warhammer 40,000 figures, the quality does really show through. I mean, like I say, you can quite easily pick up probably 20 of these guys for less than it costs to buy five of the modern Space Marines, which are actually over there. But yeah, as you can say, if you're buying a new figure, you're getting a more detailed thing. That can be good or bad thing. I don't mind having some of the older figures. I've got quite a collection. I think I've got 200 Space Marines, for instance. So it doesn't really bother me too much. Let's compare some of the... I have to say, when it comes to HQ choices, we've obviously got this guy, who you get for free. But to be honest, I found that the Mantic figures weren't that expensive. And that's the figure that you get for the Mantic Marauder figure. And that cost me about 15 New Zealand dollars, which isn't that much. This, solid metal, it's nicely cast, got some great detail. Detailing on. This is just a plastic kit. It looks nice. I would say, again, the Warhammer figure wins, but there's something... I do kind of like to know that it's made of a better material. Warhammer 40,000 do not do any metal figures now, but Mantic still do quite a bit. And likewise, this fast attack choice that you get with the Warpath is made out of resin, which is a pretty good material. Pretty much Games Workshop for their Warhammer 40,000 things, if they sell you something in resin, they usually mark the price off quite a little bit more. Now let's take a look at the other side of the armour. These starter kits typically come with 2 armours, which allows you basically to start fighting as soon as you've got them assembled. Again, Warpath is on the left, and this is a Forgefather army over here. And over on the right, you have a Space Marine army. Unlike the Marauders, you've actually got a lot more of a breakdown of what's involved within the Forgefathers. You have 5 of these, I believe they're called Drachium. They are, just wait for it to focus. There we go. These are quite heavily armoured, and they tend to carry some quite heavy weapons. This is a kind of heat ray, if I remember, some kind of melter gun. Of course, Warhammer 40,000 is the melter, but it does some serious damage. This is one of your more grunt troops. Again, fairly well armoured for the universe, and this is just an ordinary weapon it's got, but even these pack a bit of a wallop. Again, you have to understand that the difference in materials. This is a resin piece. It's a form of cannon that you have, and it basically fires about 12 shots. Pretty much whittles down any infantry. A lovely piece again, and again made in resin. And we also my kits have also come with one of these, which is called an Iron Ancestor, and you'll see in a minute there's a kind of equivalent in the Space Marines. So not bad. Again, the Space Marines kind of what you get from the did get from the Assault on Black Reach. You felt a bit more quality. These again lacked a HQ choice. These one came with a free captain. It's not a very brilliant captain. Again, it's modelled in plastic rather than a decent material like resin or metal. In fact, everything that you get in the Assault Black Reach is pretty much all just plastic kit. and pros and cons. You get 5 of these Terminators. These are pretty much like the Drakim over there. These are pretty, within the Warhammer universe, these are pretty highly armoured units. Very difficult to take down. You have Space Marines, and Space Marines obviously are an elite, quite armoured unit, and quite with a fair amount of firepower again at their fingertips. They've got one of the better strength weapons just out of the box. And finally you get one of these guys, which is a Dreadnought, a little bit like what we've just shown you. Okay. Now again, just trying to compare them one against another. Now obviously this shouldn't come as a huge surprise. The Forge Fathers are based on dwarves, so they're somewhat shorter than the Space Marines. Yeah, a lot of nice detailing. The Warhammer figures once again are quite superior to what you get on the Mantic figures, I'm afraid. I say this because I kind of like the company, but right now the figures, I feel the figures that you get from Mantic are pretty much where Warhammer was about 10 years ago, and they are doing a lot of work, I have to say. Right now there's a Kickstarter to basically close the gap. That's your normal trooper next to one normal trooper there. Again, not quite so dramatic, the height difference, because those Terminators are huge, absolutely huge. But yeah, a little bit of difference in height, not too surprising. They both look rather butch and armed to the teeth. Wonderful. And then of course, these guys. The Iron Ancestors versus the Dreadnought. Again, the Dreadnought is bigger, much better detailing on it. But this is actually a really nice model. It's got more weight to it. It's a more solid piece. So I kind of like them both, but for different reasons. Yeah, they're both really nice models. There are some other factions that are available that don't obviously come within the kit. So I'm just going to show you an example. So that was our Terminator before. These are what are called the Enforcers. Enforcers are kind of like the Space Marines of Warpath. They're quite armoured Marines, heavily armoured human Marines. They're kind of like the elite shock troops, and they're very good at shooting and all that. So. Okay, so on the left we've got Warpath and the Fate of the Forge Star edition. On the right, Assault on Blackreach has now been replaced by Dark Vengeance, which is available, but still, you know, the same Games Workshop principles really apply to everything. So let's really compare the two. Now, Fate of the Forge Star in the UK costs £50. In the UK, it costs £65 for the Dark Vengeance set. So that, you know, in a way, that extra £15 is kind of going on to better, more established figures. However, it's not really as open and shut as that, because if you live outside of either the UK or America, then there is this horrible thing that Games Workshop has, which is their foreign pricing strategy. Now, Fate of the Forge Star in the UK cost me about $90 New Zealand dollars, and indeed there's about $2 New Zealand dollars to the pound. So yeah, so you would expect from that the Dark Vengeance set would maybe cost you $130, maybe $140, to still give you a bit of profit, you know, a bit of extra profit for Games Workshop. No, the price is actually £195, and this is probably something that anyone that does Games Workshop outside of the UK and the US will testify to. Quite, I have to say, extortionate prices. Pretty much what the UK pays, and then add another 50%, at least another 50%, sometimes basically double. And unfortunately, this is something that Games Workshop insists on, and it's one of the reasons why, especially in New Zealand, people have been basically abandoning the hobby since they've started to increase prices just basically astronomically. When we first arrived in the UK, the Assault on Black Reach set cost about £45 in the UK, and it cost about £110 over here. So it was more, but not extortionately more, not ridiculously more. And then it suddenly went up from £110 to like $200, like that. Just basically because you're outside of the UK, therefore you must pay more. The Dark Vengeance set includes a rulebook for everything that you need to play. However, to continue to play and expand your armies, you need a codex, or probably 2 codices. These, again, because of the price model the Games Workshop uses, cost about between $90 and $100 over here each. That's £50. They don't cost anywhere near that much in the UK, but again, because of that models, because of the pricing structure that they use, we kind of get really quite heavily stung by it. And again, this is why a lot of people are moving to things like Warpath, Infinity, and War Machine, because they don't really want to continue to pay that inflated price. For Warpath, all the rules you need are available. In fact, you can download everything from online. So you've got everything you need. Consequently, the armies, some of the history of the army isn't quite as fleshed out for Warpath, but it's still, for my money, a pretty a game that you can play with a fair amount of detail, and there's a lot of enjoyment from it. Games Workshop gets score points because they include a HQ in there. Whereas, I'm afraid, although it's not too expensive, you get no HQ and you've got to go and spend up. And again, well, to be fair, although I said it only cost me $90, it probably cost me another $30 to buy two leaders. But the leaders I thought were bad of quality, so it swings and roundabouts. One of the drawbacks about Warpath, I'm afraid, as we saw before, the figures are a little bit samey. Yeah, you assemble a large amount of them, put them all in a row, they look quite the samey. Whereas I have to admit, even though I think Games Workshop's attitude can stink at times, their models are much better sculpted. But I have to say as well, for Warpath, from what I've seen, their models are improving all the time. And it won't take 10 years before they match Games Workshop for quality. It'll happen much sooner than that. One of the advantages of Warhammer 40,000 is there are more local players. More people have collected it because it's been around for much longer. And so more people have things to play. But this is drastically changing. Since we've been in Wellington, we've seen the number of people playing has generally gone down quite a lot. And in fact, War Machine has hugely popular tournaments. Games Workshop, a lot less. And we've seen a lot of people basically pack up the hobby to move, particularly to War Machine and Infinity over here. Because they've just, the pricing, they're basically sick and tired of forever having to update and pricing, etc. So I'm afraid that has to be one of the final points. Warhammer 40,000, I'm afraid, Games Workshop didn't always used to be like this, but they have developed a slightly rotten attitude, which you can see in the pricing. towards the fans. Often the model kits are quite expensive. Particularly, they have very little care for players who are outside of America or UK. Mantic are a bit of a fresh air. They are very, if you ever see any of the interviews with the CEO, they are very driven to be for the fans. And in fact, I've had a few problems with some of the box sets that have come through. And basically, the customer service could not be better from Mantic. They're very polite. They can't help you enough to rectify any problem that you might have. And I've had a couple of problems. Basically, one of the bags was missing something. One bag was missing a weapon, and another one had included the wrong figure, and they bent over backwards to correct that, which was really, really good. We've had problems as well in the past with Games Workshop where similar, a part or a sprue was missing. So it does happen. It does happen, but I was really impressed by just how much Mantic talked to me personally from their customer service. I get fairly good service from Games Workshop shops, but not so much from Games Workshop itself if I need support. So there you go. There's a best thing I could suggest if you're trying to think of the two. If you really want to if you're outside the UK and you want to get started in a hobby and you want to try things out, I would recommend go for Warpath, yeah? Particularly if you don't have any friends that have already started, because basically it's basically half the price, yeah? You'll get experience of assembling, experience of playing a little bit. It's great to just get started, get painting, get assembling, get playing, and get a feel for if you actually like this. If, however, you already have friends, then maybe the Games Workshop route will be better, particularly if they're already collecting. But if there's a few of you just want to give this a whirl, yeah, maybe Warpath might be better for you. But then again, people are always... One of the problems is, unfortunately, because people are leaving the hobby all the time, you can often find on things like eBay or TradeMe some good offers to basically buy somebody's leftover army and basically recondition it. So pros and cons. There's almost no second-hand market for Warpath at the minute because it's so new, whereas the second-hand market for Games Workshop is quite thriving. If you look on eBay and look on TradeMe, there's almost always something being sold, particularly if you're looking at Space Marines. Anyway, that won't have enabled you at all to kind of like come up with a plan of which one to go for. But what it will do is it will flesh out some of the problems that most wargamers have. Look at me. But most wargamers have when they're trying to work out which system should I use. Should I start collecting a new army? Something that me and Cameron, of course, are looking at quite a lot. Should we start a new army? Yes, we should start a new army. Anyway, this is me signing off. Hope you've enjoyed this. Catch you later.